Everybody needs it.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you, Jen. All right, we're
you
gonna
all.
have to start over now. All right. Well, everybody that's listening, watching the recording, I just gave this amazing speech that you won't be able to hear, so I'm sorry. But great news is that we caught it just in time for Johanna to start talking about the gift of roadblocks. So, Johanna, please take it away.
Hello, good morning. And we're looking at this wonderful gift of roadblocks, which is generally not what we look at as a gift, especially if we hit it head on. But we're going to get to it and figure out why it is a gift. A roadblock is there, just like all big boulders in the road of life, to figure out what needs to be done. Do we need to remove the block? Do we need to find a detour? Or do we need to simply walk around it and leave it where it is? In order to figure all that out, we have to get to know the situation and ourselves. So the first thing is who and what is involved in this massive roadblock. That can be, for example, payments that we have to do, family, employees, clients, paperwork, partners. And so I would just like you to just take one deep breath and just write down the first three things that come to mind that are all involved in the situation right now where you feel like overwhelmed and blocked. So later on, you can do some deeper searching, but right now we just want to get the top three things that are making this roadblock really uncomfortable. Okay, and if you did the three things on top of your mind, you should have them written down right now. And with that, we're going to move on to a little bit deeper. Why is this roadblock there? Why am I receiving this wonderful gift of being stuck and miserable? And here again, I'd like you to think about um, really the benefits of it. Why is somebody giving you the gift? So what comes to my mind, what I hear a lot from clients after they go really deep, is the loudest wheel gets the grease. So if we complain a lot about how hard our life is, we get a lot of attention and maybe love at home and a good meal ready for us because we are so miserable. Um, Another gift could be that we need to learn how to do things differently and take a look at this. Another gift is that you're here thinking about that. So just think for a moment, what are the benefits of you being at the roadblock block? There are always benefits to it. And you can use mine. I just mentioned the most obvious ones. And then if you're ready, I'd like to know if anybody would like to share their idea of a benefit. Yeah, Nancy?
Um, I liked your prompt that says I work harder because I do stay focused with the stress that comes from always wondering where I'm going to get enough money to stay above water. I enjoy that stress a little bit because it's familiar and it's comfortable. I'm sure it comes from my childhood. And then I prefer being of the people. I have spent 20 years of my life being in the top 1%, and I'm not there anymore. And I don't want to go back there. I don't like being there. And so struggling feels like I'm, on the right side fighting the Death Star, which is not quite right, but that's what it feels like.
Well, those are really good. That feeling connected. That's just knowing that is really good. That's important to you. Does anybody else have any benefit they want to share? Because otherwise, we'll just go to the next point. Okay, I want to say another benefit of being really stressed out is also it's a good excuse. Like I couldn't do this for myself that I really wanted to do because I had all this other stress, or I couldn't put enough time into it because I'm. So it's an excuse to not have to be perfect, usually. But that's just some ideas. So I'm sure you can spend some time to. So now the last one is the question on this slide is where is it pointing you? So you're finding the direction. When you look at what you've written down as a benefit, and I'm going to use one of yours, Nancy, here to as an example, being connected. So now the next question would be, how can I be really connected, or how can I be more connected without being stressed out? I mean, is everybody stressed out that you want to connect to, or 1%ers are also stressed out and have roadblocks all the time? So that is not really something that should be holding you back. So, and where is it pointing? We're looking at can we get to the result of the project or of our, where we want to take our company without going through so much pain of trying to move these boulders single-handedly off the road. Does that make sense? So you look at the end result and then see, can I get that without the pain? Can I actually, and sometimes that works, a lot of times it doesn't because we're really stuck and attached to our pains because we know them. They're familiar. So does anybody, any comments here or questions before we move to the next slide? If you printed out the workbook, then you will see the page where it has your name in the circle and then 3 direction lines. So you can write down your 3 major directions that you think all this is pointing you to. And then with that, the next question is always, can I get there without being, totally destroyed in the process? Okay, next slide. Thank you, Matt. Keeping me on time. Now, if you still don't know exactly where to go next with your business, you need to go outside of yourself. So the problem here is we are the subject ourselves, and to be objective with yourself is almost impossible. But we can trick our mind into becoming objective by, first of all, getting advice from the person that we like to take advice from the most, ourselves. So if you read a newspaper article, I'm gonna use I think Felix as an example here. Let's say, Felix, you read in a trade magazine that having a recording studio is completely being taken over by AI. It's useless. All the work you've put in your life so far is useless. You should just be miserable and crawl into a corner. Now, you read that article and that brings out certain things. Now, if you read that article and you say, oh, okay, so what should I do then? Or what what is this advice? What is this article telling me? And what's my first reaction? That would be an easy way to, you know, objectively look at something. And then maybe
Mhm.
read on and see what they have to say. And then you know immediately where you disagree, because that's always the first thing that comes up for us when we hear something. We know when we disagree with other people's advice. But
Mhm.
that's still a little bit far outside from yourself. So we're getting a little bit closer. And before we do that, I would like you to just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and connect with your body. See how you feel right now sitting here listening to this. Just not a big thing. Just know, you know, if anything is pinching you anywhere before we go to the next question, so you know that. Just get a little bit of body awareness. So one deep inhale and exhale. And we're playing pretend now. Just imagine you are sitting with your best friend. This is the person you care about, that you've known maybe for a long time. And this friend has your problem exactly to the T, from the marriage, partnership, friends to the business challenges. And they're telling you this story now, essentially your story. And they say, oh man, I don't know what to do. This is all too much for me. I don't know how to get past that. Every direction I take is wrong. And really get into that. And now, first of all, what are you saying to your best friend? What's the advice you give them in your situation? And since it's not you, you can be totally honest. If you feel they have the wrong business partners, just you can lay it all in there, because it's not about yourself. Okay, and then you can work on that some more, because I have to leave enough time for Matt to work his magic here. um, just really quick before we go on, I would like you to just close your eyes again and take a deep breath and see if this advice that you just gave yourself pinched you or brought any discomfort anywhere in your body. And my next, so that just to see if, and also see if any resistance came up. If you came up with an excuse already. I'm using really quick my example. If you feel that your business partnership is not right, when you turned it onto yourself, did you feel, oh, that's not true, because of course I need my partners, or something like that? So does anybody want to share what happened in this little exercise here?
Yeah, my roadblock is is my desire to stay safe.
Hmm. And did you, what was the advice you gave your friend?
I have already mapped out the path and the steps, and I very deliberately, as a project manager, know exactly what I need to do next. But if I actually finish the project, then I'm not safe, because then I'm doing something much bigger than me and making change in the world, much like your book. It's like that last little, I'm not going to be safe if I go there, is what I've been kind of, just treading water in this, to not move forward. So
Okay.
my advice from my friend is to stick with the path that I've clearly been given and take it one step at a time and keep going.
And did you notice anywhere where the resistance sits in your body?
Yeah, it's in my throat,
Yeah.
the voice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good one to move forward with.
Thank you. Thank you. This was really powerful and meaningful. I appreciate so fast. Like, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't really take long to get to it. We just got to fool our mind to get to that objective side. So little mind tricks, because the ego is really good. Mine is really good that as soon as I put that onto myself, I have 100 excuses of why that's not really my thing. But if you write it down, then you can look at it after you cool down a little bit.
Yeah, and it really, I do have a friend who's walking a similar path, and we literally have given each other this advice. So it was easy for me to step out of myself and step into her and be like, well, of course, Nancy, you know this, you got this. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's right.
Well, that's great. So with that, I'm gonna move you on to Matt.
All right, guys. So Johanna has helped us really identify some of those challenges that are in our way and some ways to get past them. My time spent in the innovation space and helping corporations create new concepts that were really different and innovative. It took a lot because we get stuck in our own frame of reference, whether we're solopreneurs or working in the corporate space. Like it's usually like it's always been this way, right? And it's hard for us to change. So another great tool that I use to expand my thinking, and you can think about this before we start to figure out what we're going to do, what is our strategy, but how would somebody else do this? Like Johanna said, like how would your friend approach this situation, or how would you give advice to a friend about this? But what if you were to put in one extra lens on that? How would somebody that you look up to handle this? How would Walt Disney do this? How would Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, your dad? It could be any one of them. But just thinking for a moment about how might they solve this problem allows you to get a bigger frame of reference and some really great thoughts and ideas on how you might be able to get to a new solution. Let's just think about that for a moment and write down any notes on any ways that you can amplify. And then the next piece that in the corporate world that we forget quite often is that we need to pick a direction and move towards that one direction. A lot of times we are hit with the shiny object syndrome. Who can relate to that? The shiny object syndrome. Like something is new, this looks cool, AI is awesome. Let's do something with AI because it's just there. But then you take your eye off the ball and you forget, well, why was I doing that? And oh, what was my goal originally? What's my strategy? Because you got so distracted. It happens to us all. So one way that we keep people focused is with this Eisenhower matrix. This is something that was designed a long time ago by President Eisenhower. And basically what we do is we measure out every single concept on how much impact will this concept have. So how much will this solution deliver on the impact? And how much effort will it take to deliver this solution? And we measure out these two things, we can find very quickly and simply where we should be putting our focus in and where we should not be putting our focus in, which is just as important as where we should be focusing. So if we were to look at this Eisenhower matrix here, Now, one being low impact and 10 being high impact, and one being low effort and 10 being high effort. Like out of these letters here that are on the board, A through E, which concept or idea should we focus in on first? Any answers?
Yeah, B
B,
zone.
yes.
Yep.
Lowest effort, highest impact. Yes, C is amazing. A ton of impact, but also a ton of effort. So that might not be where you want to start. You want to start with the lowest hanging fruit, which would be B, zone 4. And then we move our way through the list from there. Then you could take on maybe a D and then a C. So everything that you've just thought of right now, hopefully you have a couple of different ideas. I would like for you just to take to that next page of the workbook and just say, okay, well, these were my three main ideas that I had. Measure them out on a scale of 1 to 10 on effort and impact, and plot them out onto your Eisenhower matrix. And I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Maybe Johanna can sing for us.
Definitely not. That would
Felix probably got some music for us.
Oh, I'm really not that well prepared, but I can try.
No, no, I'm just messing with you.
Hey, Matt,
Yes, ma'am.
what advice would you give anyone who's listening to this that might have just given themselves or their friend abstract advice and they really don't have much strategy?
Hmm.
Like, how would they get to the strategic part of it?
The strategic part comes down into the steps. So you want to get the most basic idea and say, well, okay, for me to get focused in my business, I need to, to solve this problem, this challenge, or this roadblock that I have, which is, say, stress. Well, I need to just get basic advice on, well, I may need to make time for myself personally. Okay, that's one thing that you could do. How much effort and impact does that have? Once you get to like, oh wow, this is going to have a lot of impact and it really doesn't take much effort to do, then you could start to say, okay, well, what are the things that I need to do to build this out? So you flesh it out after you figure out this is where I need to fish, right? So start with that generic advice, and then we can build out on that next step, which really is like, okay, well, if it's about self-care and self-love, well, I could schedule myself for a massage every single month. And I can also make sure that I take a walk in the park 3 times a week and put that on my calendar. So you can start to build out the strategy once you understand what's the area that you want to go to first. So this way you're not spending too much time on idea development if you're not going to go down that path. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Thank you. That thought just hit me, and so I thought I would have you elaborate on it.
Thanks for doing that. Yeah. Another great way to get ideas. So say if you got some general advice from your friend and you don't like the advice, or you have some ideas, but they're not fully baked. The way that you can best get new ideas is to actually not tear those down, but to build on top of them. So there is a technique that is used in improv called yes and. So improvisation on stage, there'll be a bunch of actors, and what they'll do is they'll go on stage and say, one will do something and then the next person will do something on top of it and they build on top of each other. It's called a yes and exercise. This is something that Disney commonly uses to build on their concepts. But basically, instead of saying, hey, we should have self-care in place. No, we can't do that because it's going to cost us money. That would not be allowed in a certain time of thought. And they would say, nope, we can't have excuses and say we can't do these things. It's always going to be, yes, we could do that. And we also can do this. And if we just build on our ideas with yes and over and over and over again, we start to get a bigger idea, where then we could pull stuff from. But it's basically exponential growth rather than taking things down and starting off with just these singular ideas. So a yes and is a great way to build on top of the ideas that you currently are working on. Yes, Nancy.
I'd like to know what you're asking for with impact.
Yeah, so impact could be a couple of different things. It could be that how much revenue is it going to bring in? How much more satisfaction or fulfillment is it going to bring in? So the measure of impact is very personal and to you. When I work with my clients, it comes down to what does impact mean to you and really understanding that so we can measure it out properly. But if you're trying to, say overall goal is to get more clients in your business, that means that your impact is going to be helping more clients. So you want your measure to be, I need more clients. Now, then you can measure out these ideas on a fact of which one is going to bring in more clients. So it is very personal. Does that help, Nancy?
Yeah, I just have to pick one. So thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I picked purpose the first time around, but what
Mm,
I need to focus on for the point of this workshop and the reason I'm here is income. And so
mm.
I'm making a new column that with the dollar sign over the top and low high that column with the same stuff.
I love it. Yes. In fact, one of the other tools that I use is a lot like this one, but it's a spider graph. So if you wanted to have like more measures, like say if you're just like a very analytical person, you have 10 different things that you want to measure. You want to measure fulfillment, you want to measure revenue, you want to measure sustainability, um, w- whatever. You can measure as whatever you want on it. You build out a spider graph with all zeros in the center or ones in the center and then tens on the outsides of each line. And you build them out on each of those. So you could see it, how, like in a circle, how big these concepts are. And the bigger the web or the circle, the bigger the concept would be. So that's another way you can measure out too.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody want to share any concepts that are coming up as low effort, high impact, or things that they're going to want to focus in on moving forward? And I know Jamie's not in a great place to share right now, but is taking it all in. But Felix or Nancy, do you have any clear
And
winners?
I need just a
Oh,
second one.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I have a lot of bad examples.
Oh, good. What's your bad example? I want to hear it.
For example, like especially in the music business, there's tons of projects that are like a lot of work and little money, and then in the outcome, the people who don't have the money to spend on the projects, most of the time they don't have a concept for like how to release it or how to sell it in the end. So in the outcome, you have a great product that nobody will know because nobody ever gets in touch with it. You spend tons of time with it and you didn't earn money with it. So it doesn't help you at all. You can only use it as an example of what you did, but it's, for music lovers or something they will hear and say, okay, it's great music, but it's not a good example in terms of, like I did something that is famous right now or, anything in that direction. Like
Mm,
it won't be a successful project and you're still broke after it, although you work all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. So it's the execution of the marketing of the amazing product that you have is
Yeah.
where the focus needs to be. And then I would say I would recommend that that's kind of where you should be focusing your ideas is how can you market rather than thinking about new products because you have the products, right? So now it's a matter of
Yeah.
how can I market this differently to break through? So I would put my focus in on just answering that question, like, spend like an hour today or tomorrow focusing in on just that question, like just and give yourself that very narrow focus, like only the one question, how can I market my
Yes.
projects?
Yeah. And for me, especially like it's like always a little bit more complicated, but for what really helps me now is like talking to you guys before. I see that some of the projects that I did are not what I'm supposed to do anyway. So first thing I have to do is not focus on them anymore and try to focus on where I want to go.
Yeah.
So one of the good advices is like, I never wanted to have a commercial recording studio, so I should stop trying to have one,
Mm,
It's, yeah, because if I don't want one, like, why would I put effort into it? And to make it successful would mean high effort, and for me, low outcome because it's not the goal. It's not
yeah.
my goal. It reminded me also of the pool game. You remember when we talked and I said it's like when you play pool, you know the
Yeah.
most complicated shot right at the start.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna jump this ball just because.
Yeah,
Totally, yeah. And that's the great thing about the Matrix too, is that it does identify, okay, these are not things that I should be doing, just as important as what you should be doing. And another great way that this tool can help is not just on landscaping ideas and saying which ones you should focus in on, but also landscaping problems, right? So you
Mhm.
can look at this and say, how do I plot out all the problems that I have in my business? Like Johanna said like before, let's think of three different things that are challenges or roadblocks for our business. We can plot those three roadblocks out and say, okay, which one has the greatest impact on my business and which one would take the least amount of effort to remove? And when we think
yeah,
about that, then we also say, oh, okay, so revenue is definitely the one that has the most impact. Um, and marginal effort. That's the one I should be focusing in on because that's going to have the greatest impact here. To where the other ones might be all the way at low impact on the left side of the graph. So you'll know very quickly, okay, this is the problem I should be focusing in on. Now let me start thinking about the solutions that I should focus in on and then plot those out. So it's a great way for you to get strategic and organized on your problem solving. Great. Nancy, anything you would add?
Um, since I did two different prioritization matrices, I came up with remarkably similar answers, and so that's giving me a nice, clear direction of what
Oh,
I should
nice.
pursue. If it's high impact in purpose and high impact in income, then hell yeah, that's where I should be going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a clear indicator. I love that. You have like the overlay of the extra measure, which is cool. Great. Okay, so the next phase now is that now that you've identified an area where you want to focus, Felix, think about, this a little bit more deeper as far as like, do a little bit more thinking on that one question of how do I market better and build on that. But then we get to the next piece of it, which is starting to build out your plan, right? So now that we have an idea of where we want to go, the next phase is now we need to execute, start to think about how will we execute this new strategy. And Jennifer's going to take us through a process that can help you really do this very quickly and easily. And it's all about accountability.
Well, I think Matt may be giving me too much credit there because I'm not sure it's a process. I actually just want to chat with you. But if you do go through the next 2 pages of your workbook, you have some accountability tips. And I'm going to kind of highlight some of the main ones. And then I want to talk just a little bit about some statistics about accountability and why it's so important. But if you go to that last working page, you guys can take your actions from zone 4 and you can start plotting them in here so that you can start plotting them like what are you going to do on a daily basis that's going to move your business forward, what are you going to do on a weekly basis, what are you going to do on a like maybe a one time or a monthly kind of thing. And the thing that I really want to emphasize is this: if you start plotting it out and you're like, oh my gosh, that seems hard, overwhelming, stressful, gives me serious anxiety. You know, like seriously, sometimes I put things on my calendar and then I'm like, okay, now I want to go vomit because I can't do all that at once. Break it down into something smaller. Take it back off and break it down into 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, whatever it needs to be. And those need to be the steps that you plot, not the whole big thing at once. So I live by a rule that if I can't complete a task within 60 minutes, it has to get broken down. So if I can't set a timer for 60 minutes and complete just that one task with no interruptions, it's got to become more than one task because I can't focus any longer than that. I don't know about you guys, but I can't. I can't sit for 3 hours and focus on the same thing. I have to switch things up. So as you're mapping this out, and even after today, like you look at it tomorrow or later this week, and you're like, oh my gosh, that just doesn't seem doable. It's too big. Break it down, bring it smaller, make it kind of chunk sized. And this is actually what I do with clients for accountability is we talk about why you did something or didn't do something. And then we say, okay, that was too much, or it didn't work, or, you know, maybe part of it is, this is another thing that comes up for my accountability clients is, okay, I spent all my time in my business, but my family really suffered. Well, that's not fair to you or your family either. And part of it is being there, being well-rounded, being able to do all of the things. That's why you're building a business, right? You want to do all of the things. So take some time, fill in the tracker as best you can with your priorities, the things you want to work on. And yeah, I'll go back through the other page and just kind of, I mean, working with an accountability partner is just such an amazing gift that you can give yourself because it really does help to keep you focused. Having somebody who truly cares about your progress, not just their own stuff, is amazing. So this is an example I use all the time when I'm talking to people about accountability. If you have a desire to lose weight and you tell your spouse, don't let me eat the cookies, and then your spouse sees you with a cookie and they walk up and smack you, they're not the right accountability partner for you because that's not how it should be. You should have somebody who truly cares about you. Now, your spouse probably does care about you, but, you know, or I know if my spouse tells me I can't have something, I just want to go, you know, like I turn into a volcano and I want to explode on him because how dare he tell me I can't do something? Like, that's not right. So just having somebody that will come at you from love and grace and kindness, and yet will still hold you accountable and say, you still have to do this task, or can we do it a different way? I know there were a few times when Felix and I were working and I would just say, Felix, step back, step away from it because you're too close to the situation. Give yourself some space. And every time we did that, he came back the next session and he was totally renewed and he had all sorts of things going on and he had made all sorts of progress. And that was always really incredible. And I loved every second of that. So it really is important to choose correct accountability partners. Doesn't have to be a true coach, but should be somebody that really does care about you. And so one of the things that I've learned over the past couple of years is that only 8 to 10% of people who ever set a goal hit it. It's a really low percentage. Like, wow. I was floored by that percentage. So I want you to be one of those people that hits it every time. You hit your mark, or you realize your mark wasn't right for you, like Felix was saying earlier, and then you go on to something else and you hit that mark. So that's really important. And then the other statistic I really wanted to share is that 95% of people are more likely to reach their goal if they have regular accountability check-ins. So not somebody that just jumps in there once, but somebody that jumps in there several times and is in there on a regular basis. So when we do accountability check-ins, they're usually weekly or a couple times a week even. And that just really ensures that you're hitting your marks. And it also keeps you from staying stuck. So, because that's a big thing. So Matt, you need to talk to my wife. Absolutely. Anytime. So how are you guys doing with filling in your task tracker? Is it working? Do you have ideas?
I need a little bit of advice. I don't quite understand how to fill it in.
Okay. So what are some of the tasks you came up with in your zone 4?
Writing. I need to write a little bit every day. Writing for an
Okay.
hour every day makes complete sense to me. And I'm just not sure how to writing in on this.
I mean, do you need to write something specific or do you just need to write?
No, I'm writing books,
Okay.
and I'm just actually struggling with the layout of the form. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
columns and
Um,
rows. I don't know how to put that
I
in.
would say make it work for you. So the time allotted, if that doesn't work for you, just skip that and just put, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, write
Okay.
60 minutes.
Okay, so under time allotted, I would write 60 minutes, and under
Sure. And
each of
then
those
and then
5 days,
just
I would write writing. Is that how
yeah,
that works? Okay,
yeah,
I just
just
needed
make
an
it really
example.
simple.
Okay,
However, you're going to remember it.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that you could do this too, Nancy, when you start off is just like do a brain dump. What are all the tasks that I need to do to get this done? And start with just building a whole list of things. Like, it's
Yeah,
like you said, like writing, it's sending out emails, it's lead generation, it's social media, all these different things. And then decide which one of these are daily, which one of these weekly, which one of these are just a one-time thing. So this way
yeah.
you can start to organize that brain dump.
I'm
And then you
happy to
can
say
start.
that's what this whiteboard up here is, but
Ah,
it's not organized as clearly as this tracker. So
mm.
I'm grateful for this next step.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. That's great, Nancy.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Yeah,
Oh, you're welcome.
it makes it a little bit more real when you put it into a tracker like that.
And adjustable too, instead of
Mhm.
there's so
Yes.
many words on that whiteboard. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
less overwhelming because one thing at a time, right? It's a lot
that's
more.
that's my thing. That's if I think what I'm gaining from what all three of you have put together here for me, my desire to stay safe. If I know exactly what the next step is and I'm not scared of the next step, I will get there without having to face my fear over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Great way to look at it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like taking a leap, but just one little step at a time. So
One,
you're getting a
one,
bridge, right? You're
yeah,
getting a bridge over.
yeah, yeah. I like that.
Love it. Cool. All right. Now there is thank you, Jennifer. That was awesome and very
Welcome. Thank
helpful.
you.
There is a very interesting technique that Johanna performs, and she had done this with me. So I had the pleasure of experiencing this thing. It's called a quantum shifting. Now, this is something that I was struggling with jumping over from being a full-time employee, getting a paycheck every single week, to making this leap over into entrepreneurship. It was super scary to me. So I know exactly what you're experiencing, Nancy, as far as like that fear. Um, and we did a quantum shifting exercise. And basically what we did was that we just felt over from, one type of experience to another. Um, and the experience that we went through, and Johanna's going to explain a little bit more here in depth, completely changed my life. Literally, like everything changed from, the one day where I was a full-time employee, the next day we set in stone that I was going to be an entrepreneur. So my job had to fire me that next day. So it was so crazy how it actually played out. But this process is extremely powerful. Johanna, I would love for you to explain to everybody a little bit about quantum shifting, and maybe we could start off with a short little video. Maybe.
Yeah.
Here. 3 to beam up, Mr. Scott. Beam us up.
Well, I hope Matt didn't scare you too much with being fired. I've heard that one before. Felix mentioned that earlier at the very beginning before most of you came on.
Problem is I was self-employed,
So, I mean, it's really not very scary. What we are is, we know that from quantum physics, we're just a bunch of molecules moving in space. And unless we are observing those molecules, we don't even know what is there. So it's not solid. So when we can get from where we are now, we know the space we're now. So Nancy, I'm just going to pick on you again for, space where you're afraid to move forward because you might have to give up your illusionary safety net because there is no safety anywhere. Hate to burst your bubble, but safety is totally an illusion. So, but illusions are good. You can hold on to them. But when you want to move from there to like a solid place that is not like a net, then all you have to do is allow those molecules to shift and have a phase change. So, water becomes steam, becomes ice, it has all those shapes. We do too. We can change the molecules in our environment at any time to something new. So the way we're doing it is we're becoming aware of where we are now, and then we go to the new space where we want to be, and we get to the nice thing about this is we get to try it out. So when I work with people, we do that. We try it out and see if that's actually what you want, or if maybe this way the molecules aren't right because you may be back in the 1%, and that's not where you want it to be. So then we tweak it and we go, where's the best scenario that we can be, which is really fun. So you get to play with the reality. So it's the universal quantum playground. And you can keep it very light because these things need to be moving. And it's that's why I picked the Star Trek Beam Me Up, because I always loved that as a kid. If you could just like pixelize and then come back together, it would be so awesome. But we can come back together. Now, the thing that Felix and Matt mentioned before is when we have a phase change from water to steam, we have to leave the solid water place to get to the steam place. And so when working with people, we work through that. We work through, okay, so the water place has to be left and we're going to come back together as steam. Then, you have to be able to let go. So, but once the new steam is actually where you want to be and the excitement is there, then it's easier to let go of the water phase and enjoy that. So that's a really fun thing to do. That's part of our program. It's a little bit more involved to do here in a workshop. That's not long enough, but we just wanted to introduce you to that and what that can do. So that's shifting in the quantum playground and having a lot of fun while getting to a completely new configuration in your life.
Yeah, it's a very cool process. And thank you very much, Johanna. Well, first off, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here that showed up to the session today and to just play full out, building your roadmap to revenue. I hope that you've gained some lessons from this and are going to be able to move forward in your businesses and build that revenue roadmap. So thank you. Now, if you are interested in learning a little bit more of how we work and how we can help you to the next phase of your business, please feel free to stay on. If not, it's totally okay. You can drop off here. But our program that we are offering is a quantum strategy coaching experience, which is a 90-day program that we have taken through through many clients now. But basically what we're doing is that we are building a program that has psychic awareness, strategy, accountability, and mindfulness all built into one program, which is not like any other coaching program you've ever seen before. Usually you get motivation, or you get strategy, or you get something else, but never do you ever get all of these pieces here, which really makes this a holistic approach. In the program, you're getting 3 subject matter experts that have very unique backgrounds. And in the 90 days, because we want to make sure that you succeed, this program has 20 plus sessions. So sessions with Johanna, sessions with myself, and also many sessions with our accountability allies like Jennifer. During the program, you have unlimited access to coaches, and you also get access to your next level of success. So this all comes at an amazing value today of $48.75 for the 90-day program. So a lot of coaching, a lot of experience for not a lot of money. So that is a great value today that we're offering that stays for this week. So if you sign up this week, it's $48.75, or it goes back to the $6,500 next week. Now, if that isn't something that is possible for you right now, and you need to start off with something smaller, we don't want to stop you from growing. So we are offering right now a Kickstart package as well. In this Kickstart package, we have 3 30-minute sessions with strategy sessions with Johanna and myself. In fact, one of those sessions is with us combined. You also get accountability calls after those sessions are complete to make sure that you are getting that Kickstart growth. And that is going to give you a clear direction forward for revenue. So it's a perfect program to start you off. And also that value of 444 can be put into the big program and carried over if you want to continue to the 90-day program after that. So a nice little sampler Kickstart package as well. So I'll just open it up to any questions or at all for the group.
What is the time frame for the Kickstart?
The Kickstart would be for the 3 sessions. We would hold those over a time that is convenient for you. So say if it's like we're going to do 3 sessions in 2 weeks, we would do those 3 sessions. And then we can pace out the 3 accountability calls over the course of the rest of the month. So it'd probably be, I have to tell you, between a 30 and a 45-day program to get you kickstarted.
And is each of those 3 with each of you? I mean, or it's one-to-one. How's that work for those 3 sessions?
So for the 3 sessions, one is a strategist. The first session would be with Johanna. What she'll do is that she'll do a 30-minute session that starts to reveal some of the blocks that you are holding on to and show you clear ways of moving forward. The second session will then be to meet with me on a strategy call. So we will take those blocks and those obstacles that you're facing from the Johanna call, and we'll start working on innovative strategies that are going to allow you to excel. Then the third session would be with Johanna and I both together to see how things are coming along. And there we'll be able to kind of fine tune the dials and really get you a strong strategy, like a guideline that will get you to move forward. And then from that point, the accountability will kickstart in, and this way you'll get accountability calls to make sure that you're making progress on the plan that we created together.
Got it. Thank you.
And Matt, one of the things we had talked about was maybe doing the call with Johanna, the call with you, and then the 3 accountability calls, and then kind of the call with both of you, just because then, you guys get to see, you guys who are the clients get to see the results, and you can go back and give the feedback and make the tweaks. The other nice thing that I didn't really mention is when you're working with an accountability coach, at least the way I do it, is if you're struggling, if you're stuck, I go back to Matt or Johanna and I say, oh my gosh, they need another session. They need something more. And that's a really great benefit for you as the client, because not everybody has, I mean, when you're just working in group coaching, you don't always get that, or even one-to-one. So that's just another added benefit for you.
Thank you, Jen. Yes.
I just want to add really quick. So even if this is not for you, if you know anybody that would be interested in that, please feel free to share this information.